everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. We call ourselves We Share Because We Care. I am your host, Bella Torres, and today in the studio we have Jason Herrera, Alicia C., and Kaylee Valenti. Our topic of discussion today will be about the COVID-19 pandemic and how it was for each and every one of us. So, my first question for us today is how was our experience at the very start of the pandemic? Jason.
So for me at the time, I was in Mexico, Michoacan, and I was 2 years before graduating high school. And I think like everyone, we just like heard about the pandemic, what was going on in China. We just heard of it in the news. We didn't really think much of it. So I was just in the back of my head, just like, okay, this is going on, but it's not really affecting me. So I just keep going with my life. And then it was one day of class, and I'm pretty sure we all got the 2 week, like, just closure, like, of break. So we were pretty excited, to be honest. We were really, like, thinking ahead of what's gonna happen.
Oh, similar for me. At the time, I was in the Philippines, and the pandemic started around towards the end of my freshman year of high school. And we got the announcement on a normal day. We had classes, and around the afternoon, we got the announcement that our classes for the rest of the day are canceled and for the next 2 weeks. So, like you said, definitely felt excited that we had a break for that time, but after seeing the escalation of the situation and just how serious the disease was, I started to feel more scared and anxious.
Yeah, it for me it had started when I was a sophomore, so it was kind of more like the end of the second semester. And then it prolonged through my junior year. And I remember I was in my last period and I was writing an essay and we got an announcement saying that, oh, we can't come back for school for 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this a vacation or something? That's we can't lie. We were all somewhat excited to hear that we were going to be out of school for a while. And then once we were out of school for 2 weeks, it was 2 weeks, and we're like, what's going on? Where our teachers couldn't really say much because what did they really know? No one really knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, same here. I had 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
It was the second semester of my eighth grade year. And we say those 2 weeks turned into 2 years because we know that it ended up being much longer than what the board members expected. Just 2 weeks. No, that was nonsense at that point. But for me, I was so upset because our middle school was supposed to do an eighth grade promotion ceremony, but I never got that. And so that was kind of the big bummer of that time. But, back then it was a struggle at first. It was great because at first it was like, oh, it's gonna be a vacation and a couple weeks off. It was exciting, like you guys are saying. But then after some time passed, it started to become worrisome and unknown. Not many questions were being answered. Not many people knew what the heck was going on at the time. We just knew that people were getting these cases. It was a brand new virus. We didn't have that much protection against it. So that was my experience. It was very similar to I would say Kaylee's.
Yeah, I think definitely also the social media aspects too. So, I mean, obviously we can't believe everything what we see on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and all that stuff, but it would still make us worry because there were things going out around social media that we were seeing that this we have no clue what's going on. We didn't know what we were expecting. And kind of like even how you said that the 2 weeks turned into the 2 years, we did not expect that at all. So it was very worrisome, and especially for other people and for our relatives, our grandparents, our friends' relatives. And so, and we're like, well, in our lives, we never had to deal with something like that before. Yeah, when we were kids, we were told, okay, if you have the flu, go home. But it's not like everybody had the flu at the same time as you. So we weren't all expected to just stay in our house. So I remember like the grades and everything like that for your school, for school.
Yeah.
how was that for you guys?
It was, I would say it was pretty easy because my school had a policy for a while where we couldn't lose points, we could only gain points. Our grades could only go higher. They only thought it was fair because kids would struggle learning at home, you know? So it was easy for me because I've always been a straight A student to maintain those A's. And I would say it was pretty stress free in that area,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. What about you, Jason?
For me, I feel like pretty much the same at first. It was like pretty much the same or when both. But the reason being that is because like at first you're just learning everything you're being like teach. So when you like actually get hands on or like get to the practical part, I definitely felt I was struggling with that. Not to the point I was failing, but I did like feel I didn't learn what I was supposed to, or like
You weren't
I was
retaining anything.
I was retaining it, or like
Yeah.
pretty much robbed of it. Like we were all robbed of it.
Oh,
Yeah. No, definitely. Because I feel like a lot of our motivation we just didn't have a lot of motivation at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Since everything was just online, we were sitting in front of our screens all day. So there's really nothing we could do much.
Yeah. No accountability either.
No.
The only accountability was ourselves if we really cared, and then our parents if they
If
really
they-
were a part of that.
yeah, if
part of
they
your
were
life.
part of that.
Yeah.
Like, and so some people, they thought, oh wow, I'm so excited to go home and spend time at home and play video games, and
Exactly.
my grades don't get affected.
That's
Yay!
all we did. Yeah.
But there was other people on the other hand that were struggling with school already to begin with.
Yeah.
And going home, you're in an environment, not everybody has a good environment at home. Their family unfortunately argues, or they're just not very close and supportive, or they have a grandparent that is very old, and you're scared. You don't want to have to go to the grocery store to buy necessities and come home and get your grandparents sick.
No, yeah, of course.
If you were living with your grandparents. And yeah, it was very sad,
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree. And my grandparents, they're old, and we were scared of getting them sick, and so it was sad because we couldn't visit them at the time.
Right.
And we were hearing about all these cases of how the elderly were most susceptible to,
Yeah,
The virus,
elderly and
the
then,
older
like
you
the
were.
young, super young.
yeah, super young, like especially I would say like babies because their immune systems are still being built.
Right. If you have a weak immune system, regardless, if you have a weak immune system,
You still need to care.
if you had any diseases, it would make it even worse.
100%. Yeah.
It would make
And
you
so it was so scary because we were hearing about all of these cases increasing, especially in that age group. And there was an article I did research on by Domenico Cosinoda. It was an article called When WHO Declared COVID-19 to be a Pandemic. It was published in March of 2020. And it claimed that when the pandemic first began, the number of cases outside of China increased by 13-fold. Like, I don't think you could put that number into perspective. Like, that's a
Yeah.
large number. And then also number of countries that reported there were cases increased by threefold. So it was widespread across the world without a doubt. And we knew it was occurring in our own neighborhood. We heard about people being hospitalized, especially some of our older folks from church. And it was scary because we're like, we don't want our grandparents to go through that.
Yeah.
All with that. So we had to stay home, stay away from all that. And it was really sad. It was really sad.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
insane. I remember hearing a lot of, we were like, where did it come from? There's lots of conspiracy theories too, even.
Mhm.
Like a lot of people, you see that on social media a lot.
Yeah.
And that's insane that the numbers, how they spread so
It
rapidly.
was really fast. Especially when there's no defense against it. It's a new virus.
Yeah.
And our bodies are like,
So we're just
What's
trying to all
this?
figure out, what do we do? How do we prevent this?
exactly. I guess that was the question at
Yeah.
the beginning.
That
Yeah.
was a huge question.
So many unanswered questions, but that was really interesting to see all of our different, like where we were at in life. We were in different parts of the world. You said Philippines, you said Mexico. We were in the U.S. at the time, so it was really interesting to see how our experiences differed in that way. So I want to ask Alicia, how was your experience throughout the pandemic? Like, how did it affect your life?
Throughout the pandemic, so I just felt really isolated from everyone and everything. And even with family, early on, my brother got COVID, so he had to be isolated from us. We couldn't see him for a while. And also, the nature of my dad's job, he's an epidemiologist. So he wasn't home for months uh, due to the nature of his job. So he was working on cases all the time. Yeah.
How did that make you feel that your dad was working out with people?
Definitely very scary and anxious because he could possibly get the disease and
Yeah.
everything. But thankfully he didn't get the disease during the years he had to be out. And
Thank goodness.
He was very lucky because I know a lot of like the nurses and people coming out, they have to work, you know.
Yes.
What can you do about it?
I know that's why they considered them to be heroes because they were surrounded by the sick
So
people.
many,
all the
yeah,
time.
so
Like,
many sick people.
yeah,
Yeah, that could prevent them. Yeah.
yeah. Like my dad, he works in healthcare. He's in biotech, and so he was considered like one of the heroes, and they would always give them like gifts to take home and
Aw,
stuff like
that's
that. So there's a lot
That's
of
nice.
appreciation for those people. So but I'm so glad your dad
Oh,
Didn't get sick. Yeah.
Thankfully, he didn't.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. How did
good.
you like was there ways that you would cope with like being bored or you know?
Right, because there's definitely boredom being by yourself. For a little.
Definitely. I feel like what I would video call with my friends
Yeah.
for almost every day, honestly. And we would just play games or like
Aw.
watch movies on call with each other.
Aw.
So I feel like that's one way that I coped with the boredom. What about you guys?
For me, it was just great listening to all of your experiences. For me, it was very different. It wasn't as restricted, I want to say, because on the news in Mexico, I heard about like a lot of the lockdowns and people being like said stay in their homes.
Mhm.
For us, it didn't. We were told kind of the same, like be safe, stay in your homes, don't go out as much. But we really didn't have a choice in that matter. I mean, we tried the online classes at first, but our school kind of gave up on it and went to hybrid classes. But most of them were in person. So
Wow.
we tried the safety guidelines of like the 3 feet. Didn't really work.
It's hard when you have a whole bunch of students.
Yeah, it was rough. I mostly felt like unmotivated, like Alicia said at first,
Mhm.
but it wasn't really as restricted, to be honest. A few things that come to mind is the online part. We were not prepared for that, like at all. For me personally, I had like a decent laptop, a decent internet like connection, and even then it wasn't great for online classes. Like funny part, I was scolded a lot by some of my teachers for hearing music during the classes because in presentations I like had to talk and like they said turn the music down. Like what are you doing? It's this class. And I had to tell them multiple times that it was just my computer's fan like going crazy.
Overheating.
Yeah, and that was me because had like a decent setup.
Yeah.
It's like I had like I could do like work. But for many other of my classmates, it was definitely not the same. They were like struggling a bit.
Mhm.
And that leads me to a article that I found by Richard Fry and the PE Research Center on April 29th, 2021. And he found out that most US students did have access or aids to online like classes when many Mexican students did not. And I did see this a lot with a few of my friends that live mostly on remote parts and they struggle a lot. So
Yeah.
I did notice they did have to go to school.
Yeah, like education is supposed to be free, but if you can't afford a nice running laptop, a computer like that's like half as good as yours was, then you really didn't get the right to an education back then. I don't think that was really taken into consideration all that well.
Yeah, I think I was really lucky because my high school let us lend Chromebooks.
Oh.
So they weren't bad. They were not bad. I'm sure a lot of you guys have worked on Chromebooks before. They're just a pretty basic laptop, just give you the essentials of what you need, like the Google,
For school.
Chrome, and everything like that. And we did all of our classes on Google Classroom. But I remember it was so easy for me to fall asleep in the classes because you're just laying in your room, and I had to get myself to go downstairs, which is not a big deal, but I had to tell myself, you need to go downstairs and you need to do your homework downstairs, because if you don't, you were going to fall asleep. And I think that's partially why I failed one of my classes. I had a semester that I failed and I had to retake in my senior year. It was a history class or something, like some history class, but I had to retake it. And I remember being a senior in a class full of juniors when I came back from COVID, but which was not horrible because it was only a semester. But you can imagine all the other people who were already struggling in school. They had this prolonged for a whole school year. A whole school year in high school is longer than we are in college. And I remember, I think the best ways for me, I would have to like talk to my friends over the phone, and I'd play games with them. And I have animals, so I would play with my animals. I would try to stay outside. But I remember even then during COVID, we still had fires. I don't know if you guys remember that. If
I
you
was
guys
gonna
remember the
say
fires,
there were fires.
Yes, and-
There were killer hornets.
yes. So it wasn't even
Yes.
just COVID. There
Oh,
was
yeah, by
other
the way. While you were in Mexico,
yeah,
America was on
California.
fire, especially California. We
Yes.
were like the fiery state. For some reason.
Yes. So it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Go outside and breathe in all this smoke?
No, it was nasty.
It was nasty.
It was scary.
It was scary. It was
Remember,
definitely
there's some
scary.
videos, not to go off topic here, but there were some, on top of the COVID pandemic, there were videos of fires right outside of people's houses. The
Yeah.
craziest things happened in 2020. It was like an apocalyptic year. Everyone thought the world was ending because there was a disease, there were fires, there were these insects that were like super dangerous to people. And
And that was just
other
here.
things. I know.
Like other countries and other states were dealing with their own things.
Yeah, like natural disasters, like
Toilet paper.
everything.
Toilet paper shortage.
What?
Yeah,
Except for
everybody
toilet
was-
paper, you guys.
Everybody was at Costco getting their toilet paper and stuff.
Yeah, at least in America, I don't know that. But yeah, it was crazy. So crazy. Oh goodness, man. We were bored, weren't we?
Yes.
Hmm.
Just very, very unmotivated. What?
Very. Yeah. For me, I was just anxious all the time.
I think, yeah, and a lot of
And I was
people
so
were-
young, I didn't have access to, like, I don't know, I guess the knowledge of what was going on in the outside world. I was so ignorant at the time. And I was like, what's happening?
Well, and a lot of people were just having lots of mental health issues and problems. They were feeling anxious and depressed. And how did you, Alicia? How did you feel during the what were your emotions that you were feeling, especially towards the end more or less than the beginning?
Towards the end, I feel like, yeah, I definitely felt a decline in my mental health compared to like the years before. And I feel like a lot of us could relate to that because, I mean, during the time in COVID, we were just inside, we were isolated from everyone. And yeah, and I saw an article by Rao M and Rao D in July 2021 and Frontiers in Education. And in that article, they stated that during the pandemic, students' anxiety and stress actually went up
Oh yeah.
because of everything going on, and compared to recent years, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. I felt that in my own personal experience, and I witnessed that in my friends and in my family and my younger brother because he was just in, let me see, if I was in 8th grade, he had to be in 4th or 5th grade at the time. He was in elementary school.
Yeah.
And he was so young, and he was already not like super motivated, in school.
Yeah, he's young
He's
too.
young. He's in
It's hard
elementary
to
school.
have all that structure, especially when you're a young kid. Think about all the COVID babies and stuff like that too. People were having babies before they knew that the pandemic was going to be a thing, and when they were born, it's funny. I called my dog a COVID baby because she was born like right before COVID, and
Yeah.
she was raised during COVID. So she was like
Oh my gosh.
not super exposed to
Yeah.
other people as much.
Oh.
So I think that definitely built her personality. And that's how it is with people. I'm not trying to compare my dog to
No,
people
but
at all.
But yeah, it affected your animals
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, it even affected my animals. You can imagine it affected all these young kids that were needed to develop at a crucial time. And it's like it's declining their the development.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because kids, the purpose of education is to help kids with their social skills.
Oh yeah.
To build them up for the real world, be able to go into an interview with confidence and know what to say, and be able to talk to strangers and make new friends.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that at all, and it was depressing. And I definitely saw it. There were some long-term effects in my friend groups after the pandemic occurred. So I'm wondering, like, what did you guys see after the pandemic in your friend groups, in your families, in your communities? What were the long-term effects that you witnessed?
Well, I remember, like, especially in my friends, I honestly lost a lot of friends during the pandemic. I don't know if you guys experienced that either. I feel like I wasn't as close with a lot of my friends anymore after that because you get so isolated. So it's not even just the relationships that you had with people that you kind of lost. I know some people had COVID and they, like you said, they lose their taste buds and stuff.
Mhm.
You know, it won't come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
But yeah, it was definitely long-term effects physically and mentally, emotionally.
Emotionally.
Physically, for me, I was just sitting in my room all day, and so I came out of the pandemic pretty unhealthy. Pretty unhealthy
yeah.
because like it would take so much from my mom just to get me outside to go on a walk or like a jog for like 0.3 miles up my street. I was dying.
My mom tried doing that too.
Me and my brother equally just exhausted, and we weren't moving our bodies around because we were indoors all day. So definitely physically there were some long-term effects for me there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know about you guys, but like every other aspect, emotionally, mentally, I was just like drained. Like there was nothing to keep me going during that time until after. We were just kind of thrown back into school. Like, okay, make new friends, even though you've been stripped of like communication for so long.
I was gonna say for me and like everyone around me, it didn't really like hit as much as you think. It didn't really affect us because like we went back to just our regular lives or like regularly could,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't really like leave that big of an impact at first. You know, just like okay, we're back to classes, we're back to regular lives,
Right.
and we really didn't show any lasting effects of it until like later, at least for me, because you already know I'm very timid, shy type of person.
You've worked with
And
that.
I'm open up.
Yeah.
But I did
Yeah,
see like
sure.
socially it did affect me a lot. Like
Yeah.
I have like a lot of issues and like it's very hard to like just be a very open person. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
even if it didn't hit at the moment, it was there. It was very like very later effect.
Mm-hmm.
No, I feel like I relate to you also because, yeah, we just went back to our normal lives. I mean, aside from the fact like we would wear masks even outside as well, but I don't really think it affected too much, because for me, I feel like during the pandemic, I developed more hobbies that I could do at home since we couldn't go out and I couldn't do like the things that I used to enjoy outside, like playing sports or maybe even cycling. So, yeah, I feel like I picked up cooking actually during the pandemic. So, even now,
That's nice.
yeah. So now I feel like I cook more at home than like rather than eating out.
Eating out. Yeah. I mean,
That's good.
speaking of like food, have you guys noticed like a lot of businesses going out of business because of COVID? A lot, especially food service, because
Yeah.
that's like their number one priority is cleanliness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're eating, how are you supposed to eat with the mask on? You know, a lot of places that are like service workers, or not service workers, but servers and waitresses and stuff like that. What are they supposed to do? They're not, no one's going to sit down and eat food. So a lot of business, they went out of business. I think that was a very long-term effect. There were some businesses that were able to thrive back, but that was only if they were financially able to.
Yeah.
And people were still supporting them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of places.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Plenty of businesses. Yeah, we had a family friend whose business almost went out of business. They were like making such little income. They had a family of like 2, or a family of 4 in total, 2 kids. But I just remember the struggle for families, because especially family-owned businesses, small businesses, they needed that income to keep going, especially during COVID when job opportunities were being rid of, and there was just like less opportunity to get money, and that affects families. And I definitely saw that.
Yeah. Did you guys like see a lot of things, especially on social media or articles about how many people had COVID or how many people were being affected and deaths as well? I don't know if you guys had seen anything like that. Did you guys kind of look at stuff like that?
I mean, for me, I did like see it on the news. Like there were like some reports once in a while, but I mostly saw a fear of like when you actually were getting the vaccine, people were afraid of like actually dying from getting.
From the vaccine,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't see much of statistics.
The
for it,
statistics, yeah.
but there was a big fear of it.
Yeah.
I didn't really understood it at the time, but
Yeah, there is a fear of the vaccine. My dad, he got the first vaccine because there was 2 vaccines you had to get.
Yeah.
The first one, there was 4?
yeah, I have 4.
Oh, there was
Yeah,
4.
there
I
was
thought there was
4.
only
You
2.
did get a booster, but I got like 4.
Okay,
Yeah,
there's
there's multiple
4.
boosters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought there was only 2.
they had 2 for a while.
Oh, and then there was a new
Wait,
variant.
Get like the booster.
Then the
after
boosters,
that.
yeah.
Right, that's true. So my dad, he just got the first one, and he's never had problems like this, but he got sciatica afterwards. And so there was always these risk factors that came into play. Like my mom couldn't get it because she's had an issue like when she was younger, and it could trigger that again. So there's just many barriers to that. Like I never got it.
There's too much room for error when you had those health issues.
Mhm. Yeah, and also the vaccine came out pretty quick, so I understand when people were skeptical of it,
Yeah.
because it took them like about under a year to develop it, whereas the flu shot and like measles and all these other
Yeah, that's
vaccines,
been around forever.
and it took them years
Yeah.
to get it approved,
Right.
or FDA approved, however you call it.
Yeah, they had
Had it
FDA approved it
approved.
pretty quickly
pretty quickly.
for the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, so it makes sense that it had all these side
Side
effects
effects.
Yeah.
and everything.
And we don't know the side effects. We won't know until the future, if you think about it. Because, I mean, some people have just gotten these vaccines a couple years ago. So we may not see
That's
side effects for the next 5 or 10 years.
And we may not know that there's side effects. Someone
Yeah.
could get a heart attack
And
like
not
a
even
day,
know.
and not know it was from the COVID vaccine.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I know that there was. I mean, it was pretty crazy. Like I had even seen something about like over 7 million people had died from COVID,
Mhm.
let alone.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that is insane.
Mhm.
Like this one article that I was looking at by JAMA Network, it was published in December 2020 by Wolf SH, and it says such leading numbers of COVID was the leading cause of death more than heart diseases and cancer, which were taking account of 1,700 and 1,600 deaths per day, respectively.
Gosh.
And isn't that crazy that it was the leading cause of death more than heart diseases and cancer
No wonder they came out with the vaccine
so quickly?
They're
Yeah.
like, we need something.
We need something.
Yeah.
And it's like
Desperate.
the masks were not, and people were fighting that against the whole masks and,
Yeah,
oh,
trying to
you know
say-
what, I'm gonna hang out with all my friends and hang out with strangers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And which I understand that you need social interactions.
100%.
And I remember when the COVID regulations have lifted, I went back to work. I went to work, and I used to work at Scandia for a while. And
That's fun.
we were kind of dead for a while, but since we were the only place that was open, like I believe Six Flags was closed for a while, so any family like fun things to do were mostly closed. So Scandia was open, and they were reluctant to stay open.
Hmm.
Honestly, we were struggling
Yeah. But
until more regulations had lifted. We were struggling for a while. Like it was so boring at work sometimes, and we all had to keep masks on. But I would still see little kids running around and adults running around with no masks on and coughing everywhere.
arcades are already disgusting.
Arcades are disgusting. Yes.
Goodness, kids
They're
just like
fun.
coughing.
I was wiping down everything. I was, the Lysol,
Everything.
Yeah, the Lysol and everything.
It's funny.
Yeah,
No.
it definitely. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
glad that we're not in it anymore. I'm glad that we are able.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so thankful that I was able to go back for my high school graduation. Like my brother, he didn't get to have his high school graduation because he graduated in 2020, and that was like literally when COVID
Yeah.
was
Oh,
getting its thing going.
poor
So
kids, yeah.
we had to do his graduation on the TV. It like broadcasted a live
Yeah.
little display of all the people and stuff, and it was just me and my family, and we celebrated. And actually, it was really cool. Rodriguez High School was pretty cool because we got to drive around the school in our cars, and then he got to pick up his diploma. Obviously, we had to like be very careful, 6 feet type thing.
Yeah.
So I'm really, I think my school really tried their hardest to make sure that we had those resources. I mean, obviously it was trial and error. It was everybody's first time doing that. So I think nothing was going to be perfect.
Totally. One of the biggest takeaways for me after the pandemic was to never get your hopes up too high, because there were endless amount of letdowns during the pandemic. There were plans canceled. There were like I said at the beginning, 8th grade promotions canceled.
Yeah.
High school graduations.
Graduations.
Like I bet you guys couldn't have a party for him either,
Yeah, no.
because no one would go.
I mean, and their
It would be a
proms,
mask party.
their proms and stuff too. Their
Yeah, no proms.
homecomings and whatnot.
My younger brother, he was, I remember now, he was in the 4th grade.
Oh, he was in the 4th grade.
Yes, and he had to miss out on the 2 biggest field trips during like 4th and 6th grade.
yeah.
4th grade, he would go to Coloma
Like, the
for
science
like a
stuff.
gold rush.
Oh,
Yeah,
that,
see?
yes.
And then science camp
The
during
science
5th
camp,
and 6th
yeah.
grade. So he missed all of that. There were so many things planned, but so many letdowns at the same time. And so just
Don't get
every
your hopes up too
time,
high.
exactly, every time we planned a vacation, we're like, anything could go wrong. We've learned this the hard way. Don't get your hopes up too high. But then the nice thing is when it does work out, it's exciting because you didn't get your hopes up too high. So
Yeah,
It's a new perspective.
it is.
that is your perspective,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's good and bad. Good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you definitely don't want to take advantage of anybody or take anybody for granted because, you just hear all these stories about people's grandparents passing away or just being affected by it. And you don't know that. It's going to happen without you even realizing that it's going to happen sometimes.
Mhm.
So you just definitely have to understand that anything can happen.
Mhm.
And I think we're going to have some great stories to tell our children when we're older.
That's some great
We
lessons
lived
in
through a
our-
pandemic.
Academic.
Back in my day.
Back in my day.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, just cherish every moment you have with your family, because there was all that time stripped away for me to hang out with my grandparents, and now I love every single moment I have with my grandparents, and I really want to take advantage of that, because all that time lost, you never know how much longer you have.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. I feel like after all the uncertainty and everything, we still had to adapt and we were resilient, you know? We went
Yeah,
back
definitely.
to everything.
Yeah, I'd say we're really strong for getting through that time and can say that we're in a better place now, hopefully.
Yeah, and I hope that it's not,
So-
something's not like this is gonna happen again.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
Yes!
Knock on wood. Oh, good.
Knock on wood.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow.
I swear if something comes up from this and you say that.
No.
We'll be
It's all good. We'll be fine. Oh, man, this was a great discussion, you guys. I'm so
Yeah.
glad we were able to talk about this today. Well, thank you, audience, for joining us today in our conversation about the COVID-19 pandemic. We share because we care. I am your host, Bella Torres. We have Jason Herrera, Alicia C., and Kaylee Valenti who spoke today. And quick question before we head off is, how was your experience during the pandemic, and was it any different from ours? We would love to know, so please let us know down in the comments section on our YouTube channel. And we hope you have an amazing day. Peace out.
If you are interested in a career in sports broadcasting,
Whether you're commentating a live game
or hosting your own TV show,
For more information, contact Greg Poff. That's me at solano.edu.
we hope to see you here next semester. And remember,
It's more than just sports, it's an education.